But joining us on the Western Hotline, Carrington Harrison, who talks Chiefs, and you've heard him on our airwaves before. We talk every year, multiple times. Carrington, good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm going to tell you one thing. That ACC thing is not going to be nearly as cool as you think it's going to be. It sounds amazing, and then we'll see. It will be a big bag of nothing.
Yeah.
That does feel like whenever the UFL has done this, or even when it was the USFL, that is usually how it kind of comes off.
Well, spoiler, on my take on this, Carrington, I hate replay. I hate that it's become a star of the show. I hate rules analysts. And I don't think that we actually do want to hear these people talking about it, because when they get the call wrong, you'll just be more upset when you hear this official saying, like, I don't think there's conclusive evidence. Now that you actually hear the words, you're just going to be more upset about it.
I will actually give you two of my sports hot takes this morning before we get to the Chiefs and the Bills. My number one hot sports take is I think March Madness is overrated, and people like it because it's one of the few sporting events that happen while we're at work. And my second one is we were all happier before instant replay. Like, we have this perception that they'll get the calls right. They get the same number of calls right and wrong as they did before, but now it just takes them 30 minutes to get to the wrong answer, where we just instantly got to the wrong answer.
Well, we are closely aligned on that. I can't stand that these games are ground to a halt for a rules analyst to tell you what you see with your own eyes. But anyway, Carrington, we had you on to talk about the Chiefs. Of course, we're deep in Bill's training camp. The story here so far is a lot of injuries, and James Cook has just become a big-time story for sitting out a couple of practices, and we're waiting to see where that goes. What's the story at Chiefs camp? What is going on in Kansas City to bounce back off a pretty rough Super Bowl loss, and what's really been the overarching theme to kind of getting back on top?
I would say there's been two themes so far at Chiefs camp. Number one has been continuity. I mean, the Chiefs are the same as they were last year. Like, all of the research that you did for the last Chiefs and Bills game, they're the same. Like, right now on defense, the only difference is they don't have Justin Reed. Everybody else is back from last year's defense other than Justin Reed. For the most part, their offense, skill position players are the same. So that's number one. Number two is Josh Simmons, the left tackle out of Ohio State. I think a lot of people thought that he was going to be kind of a redshirt this season. It doesn't appear that way. He has taken every snap as the starting left tackle for the Chiefs. He was number one on their first depth chart. I think he's going to be their starting left tackle come opening night against the Chargers in Brazil. So those have been the two storylines. People are really high on Josh Simmons. He's had a very strong camp. And second, just in continuity, the Chiefs are the same as they were last year.
To that point, Carrington, when you look back at the Super Bowl, was it about the Eagles and what they did, or was it to you a little bit more about the Chiefs had a truly fatal flaw with their offensive line that the team was finally able to kind of break open?
I think it was a little bit of everything. I think it was easy to kind of put everything on the offensive line. This is something that I think the text line of my listeners kind of disagree with me on. I think the Eagles are one of the few teams that have the ability to take advantage of what the Chiefs kind of struggled with last year. The Chiefs only really had one speed option and one guy that could get open. I think the Eagles got really physical up front with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs just didn't like it. And I think it was kind of one of those things where, you know, the Chiefs kind of know how hard Buffalo hits. They play Buffalo often. They know how hard Baltimore hits. I think they got hit pretty hard by the Eagles and hadn't been hit that hard in a long time. And I think they kind of went into a shock. And you wake up, and next thing you know, it's 21-0, and the Chiefs, everything was kind of unraveling. And all of the worst things that could happen happened to the Chiefs. So it is going to be interesting. Those two teams play in week 2 of the season. The Eagles are largely the same as they were last year, and the Chiefs are. So it's going to be a really interesting test to kind of see where Kansas City is this season.
How much of that improved offensive line is kind of up to Simmons, who was a late first-round pick and right at the end? And really, like, that was injury, right, Carrington? If you could take us back to the draft on his draft stock going down. Otherwise, I feel like I remember, if I can think back to that time, that if the injuries didn't exist, that he was a guy that might have gone even in the top half of the first round.
Yeah, so he actually broke his patella in college, so he didn't finish out his career at Ohio State. So a lot of people feel if he had been healthy, he'd have been a top 10, top 15 pick, and he just kind of fell towards the Chiefs. You know, one of my arguments while the draft process was going on is if you're the Chiefs and you need a left tackle, you know, you're never going to be in a position to take Tristan Wirfs. You're never going to be in a position to take Rashawn Slater or one of those kind of prospects. So if you feel like this guy would have been the 12th overall pick, you got to take the chance and just hope that you can trust your medical staff to get him back to 100%. And that's what happened. I mean, their right side of the offensive line is the same as it's been. Their center, right guard, They paid both of them, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. Their right tackle is the same. The left side is what's different. Kingsley Suamataia, who was a second-round pick a couple of years ago, he's going to likely start at left guard. And then Josh Simmons. So, I mean, Josh Simmons is the new addition for this team. Like, honestly, go through their depth chart for the Super Bowl and then what they just put out there. It is the same team. The only noticeable difference is that that Joe Thuney now plays for the Bears, and they have replaced him essentially with Josh Simmons from Ohio State.
Carrington Harrison joining us on the Western Hotline. Carrington, is that offense going to get back to the top? I mean, this is a team that has been very successful with an offense that didn't quite measure up to years prior. Viewing from here, it looked like 2 years in a row the offense was gettable. How do you feel about their offense this year? Will there be an improvement?
I think a lot of it depends on the health of their wide receivers. The Chiefs just love 5'9", 180-pound wide receivers, which are really good when they're running around and flying and making plays. But you got to play 20 weeks of football. Like, if you factor in the Chiefs in the regular season and go into the postseason, Hollywood Brown breaks down sometimes. Xavier Worthy was on the concussion protocol so far during training camp. Rasheed Rice tore his knee last year, and we're kind of waiting to see when he ultimately gets suspended. So I think the big thing, and this is the point that I've made on my show, is, having those big explosive plays, they come from having explosive players. Burrow has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, so it's easy to have those big splash down the field kind of plays. The Chiefs, when Patrick Mahomes was at his strongest, you had the best version of Tyreek Hill and the best version of Travis Kelce. When you've lost those two things, Mahomes is still obviously very productive, but you're going to lose a lot of that pop, a lot of that sizzle, because they just don't have the healthy weapons to kind of produce that. So I think the hope is if you can keep some guys healthy, you bring Rasheed Rice back off suspension, Xavier Worthy in year 2, can they keep Hollywood healthy and get him back a productive run game with Isaiah Pacheco? There's certainly a lot of high hopes for what the offense can be this season.
What about Kelce? Travis Kelce last year, 133 targets, still very involved, obviously, but the efficiency's come down a little bit, and he's 35, so that would be expected. He'll be 36 this season. I don't know. Do you feel like there's a wind down coming for Kelce, or do you think he's still going to be a guy that we look up and see, maybe he's not putting up, 1,400 yards like he used to, but he'll still be 100-plus targets?
Yeah, I kind of feel like if Travis Kelce has that many targets, that means something went wrong. I don't think that was the plan last year, but injuries kind of led them to that point. So I've kind of felt this way for a couple of years, and I think it's bearing in the stats. Football's not made to be played at 35, 36, not at a high level. So I think at this point, I kind of look at him like a basketball player where I just want Kelce to knock down threes and play good defense. And you really just need him for the postseason. Can he be Al Horford for you? He doesn't need to be your star, but can he be your third or fourth option? Again, just knock down a couple of shots, play good defense, be available for the postseason. That's where I think we are in Kelce's career. He's not fast enough to run by people anymore the way that he used to. He's not athletic enough to kind of break free. He's kind of just turned into that really smart veteran who just works the middle of the field and is still very productive in what he does, but he's not the Kelce of 2-3 years ago.
Carrington Harrison joining us on the Western Hotline talking Chiefs. Finally, you've seen the Bills off season. I mean, the Bills don't always look at the Chiefs and say, what do we got to do to beat them? I don't know. How do you feel like the AFC plays out? Are there 3 big dogs again? Are you ready to entertain a 4th? Is L.A. going to get there? The Chargers or the Broncos going to be there? Or are we looking at the same 3 big dogs we had the last couple seasons?
I've denounced Justin Herbert and all his works. Justin Herbert is the least accomplished quarterback of his entire era. Like all of the quarterbacks who are around him, he has done the absolute least. He's fooled me way too many times in my life. I refuse to believe in Justin Herbert. I'm with you. I still think it's those same 3 teams. I also think we're all kind of waiting to see how good Denver can possibly be. I think Denver kind of surprised some people last year. They might have the best defense of any team in the AFC. I really like their draft. So I think we're all kind of waiting to see if Denver's ready to take that next step and go from being a 9-10 win team to an 11-12 win team and put themselves in that conversation. But, yeah, for the most part, I think it's the same AFC that we've seen the last handful of seasons. It's Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo. And we're all trying to figure it out. I actually think Buffalo should be the 1 seed in the AFC. You have Baltimore and Kansas City both at home this year. And you look at Buffalo's schedule. Buffalo's schedule is a 13, 14, 15 win schedule, Buffalo should be the 1 seed this year in the AFC.
That's the plan. Carrington, thanks again. We'll talk, a couple months, maybe sooner. We'll see.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys.
All right. Carrington Harrison, host of The Drive in Kansas City, covering the Chiefs.